Alright, hello once again. I am here with another video response, and, once again to Dark Inception, who had asked, who your top 5 favorite Spider-Man villains were, and I decided I'd do him one better. I'm not gonna give him my top 5, I'm going to give him my top 10. And I think I have some choices in here that a lot of people probably wouldn't have picked normally. But, yeah, whatever. I'm unique, I guess. And, we're gonna start this off with number 10, which is the Lizard. I actually know a lot of people don't seem to like the Lizard for whatever reason, because they don't consider him a proper villain, or they don't consider him to be this or that, but he is. Even though it's a very much Jekyll and Hyde scenario at times, well, once his mutation advances at least. See, that's the other thing I like about the Lizard is the different takes on him, especially since, see, at first, when Doc Connors first turned into the Lizard in Amazing Spider-Man number 6, when he took the serum, even after he was a full Lizard, he was aware of who he was, and that something was happening to him, and that something was wrong. He was aware of his mind even changing. He ran off. He actually transformed right in his own home before running off. And so, it's a very interesting thing because it's literally, when he first turned into the Lizard, it was his mind slowly being twisted by that serum toward a more reptilian nature, a more evil nature, but it was genuinely his mind. Just like when he would turn back, he was, him. And it was quite interesting. And occasionally it would jump back and forth, though, between, he'd have like vague memories of what he did, and a lot of times he just passed them off as nightmares and wasn't aware that he had ever been the Lizard. Other times it's like, oh no, you are, he knew he was the whole time, the memories were just repressed, and, I don't know. I honestly liked it quite a bit. So there's that. And then, later on the mutation advances and he becomes a lot more feral and a lot more vicious, and he, actually starts killing people. And it's a very interesting character. It's a very sad character because while Peter does no needs to stop this guy, at the same time it's his friend. It just happens to be his friend with massive strength and teeth and claws that are trying to rip him apart. See, that was another thing about the Lizard, is that it was, even though it was his friend, he was genuinely trying to kill him. He wasn't even like a lot of the other villains who, I'll do whatever I have to do to stop you from interfering with my plan, but the plan comes first. A lot of times with Connors, instinct would take over, and he'd just do whatever, set the plan aside, and focus on killing. And then I don't know. I guess they altered the mutation again, and then it was almost like a side that was regressed, and he'd actually start turning into the Lizard unless he started taking a serum and all that good stuff. And, he was intelligent again. He could speak. I honestly don't necessarily have a problem with that, because it's pretty clear that this mutation can shift over time. Especially since, if I'm not mistaken, that was the result of an attempted cure. But, I like the Lizard. I do. I find him to be a very interesting villain, and I think he's got a very interesting dynamic with Peter and Spider-Man. So, moving on to number 9. This is one that I know doesn't appear on hardly anyone's list, and it's a shame because he has so much potential. But I understand why some people don't like him, because even though he has a lot of potential, he doesn't really live up to it. And that's the Shocker. Herman Schultz. Now, I know a lot of people don't like him because they think that he's not terribly special. Some people brand him as an Electro ripoff just because of his name. They don't even look at his powers. I don't know. But he is a seriously underrated villain. When you look at the VibroShock gauntlets that he built, yes, VibroShock, vibration shocks, sonics. It's not electricity like some people like to try to think. Um, those things are actually pretty dangerous for multiple reasons, and it's not just the impact blast that they have whenever they hit something. It's they have a very wide range of settings, and I mean they can go from an intense focused blast, which he does use, to a wider, more sweeping thing to actually just cause things to violently shake. And that's dangerous for so many reasons. He can bring down an entire building full of people that way. He can, blast a hole through a cement wall that way. But even if he doesn't hit even if he hits someone who's like super strong, you know, even if he hits someone who can take one of those blasts, just the sheer vibration and what that would do to your inner ear, the way it throws off your equilibrium. I mean, when he fought Spider-Man in the past, one shot actually throws off his agility. One shot would make it even, successively easier to hit and damage your target. So that first hit, you just can't let that happen. I do think that he's a massively underrated villain in terms of potential, and he's also underrated in terms of intelligence. Every time I see him, he's like some sort of brainless thug that just does whatever. But I mean, he was able to make that stuff. He was able to know he'd need that suit to protect him from the effects of his own VibroShock. He's not stupid. He's not the smartest villain that Spider-Man's ever encountered, but he's not stupid. I think that's another reason why some people just kind of tend to pass over him. He's not outstanding in any single area per se, but I do think that he had a lot of potential and a pretty interesting attack method, and I really think that he was severely underused, in my opinion. Now moving on to number 8. Number 8, I had a hard time. I have to place him here because he is. I'll explain in a second. Number 8 is Venom, and I know some people are probably going to be a little pissy that he's so low on my list. I debated whether or not to even put him on this list. I was going to actually keep him off the list and maybe bump up, I don't know. Bump up another villain like Morbius, maybe. But, nah, Venom, I put him here because he started a villain, and Eddie Brock's Venom specifically, he always kind of teetered the line, between hero, or rather anti-hero and villain. Gargan's Venom is so-so. The Flash's Venom I really don't like. I do not like the whole concept of, especially since it's like just part of an oversaturation thing, and they've somehow turned him into a vigilante hero type. I mean, I know some people like it because, hey, it's Flash, and Flash do it. No, though, it just does not jive with the title of Venom. It does not jive with the symbiote. All that good stuff. But I do like Venom as a villain especially, and an anti-hero, because, he's always on that line, and so Spider-Man, in the times when he's actually forced to team up with him, he never knows when he's going to turn on him, and he especially has no indication because Venom, because the symbiote was bonded with Peter, knows all his powers, has duplicated his powers, and knows how to hide itself from his spider sense. So even if Venom's going to turn on him, he won't know it until he does, which is why Peter's always on edge around him. Venom's got quite the temper, and pretty much anything can set him off. Peter's always had to try to, get him to not kill whenever he works with him, and Venom's sometimes not happy about that, and that has pissed him off. But then again, at the same time, Eddie Brock, and as much as he can be villainous, he really doesn't want to be a villain. He really does want to try to help people, or as he puts it, protect the innocent, punish the wicked. Kind of like a spider punisher with super strength almost. But, he's got his definition of wicked and innocent can be a bit skewed at times. I mean, sometimes someone is wicked if they've done so much as, a minor crime. I mean, like, not even a major, necessarily a major one, at least in terms of Marvel scale, but, I mean, even Street Thugs, there are times that he's beaten them near to death, and, yeah, it's, kind of, honestly, it's a lot of, it reminds me a lot of what Dan Slott is trying to make, Spider-Rock into. And I think that's one reason why some people are actually responding positively to it, because it's the same dynamic that made Venom popular. So, it might be successful, but for all the wrong reasons. Well, we're not going to analyze that right now. But yeah, number 8 was definitely Venom. And now on to number 7, Electro. Now, Electro is another villain that apparently a lot of people don't seem to like. He doesn't have a definitive arc. Oh, wait. You know what? That's a lie. People did like him until he was cast in the new movie. Seriously, though. But, I mean, they said he doesn't have a definitive arc. I disagree. I think he's got 2 that are really good. There's one where he actually literally gets pretty much power equivalent to that of a god, and Spider-Man has to build an insulated suit to fight him. I think the reason people say it's not a proper arc, though, is because it's only like a couple issues long, and it doesn't have like an official title like some arcs do. But though that story I really liked, and Light the Night was extremely good because it was an amazing character study of not only Electro, but Peter Parker as Spider-Man, and, believe it or not, just a criminal on the street who was trying so hard to not be ignored. A lot of it has to do with whether or not you're, even seeing, whether people are ignoring you, whether or not you're making any kind of an impact, the fear of being just forgotten or hated or, ignored. People almost treating you like you're not there, like you never made an impression on anyone. And, that actually is in a lot of Electro's backstory. His mother was extremely overprotective, didn't have a lot of faith in him, didn't really think he was going to amount to too much. But as a result, unlike becoming abusive like some parents do, she dealt with it in another way. She was overprotective of him and doting on him. And Max Dillon said that there were so many times people would, just seem so... it was like he was invisible, like he was a nobody, like nobody, would even know his name. He was so nervous whenever he tried to talk to other kids that he just started stuttering and they'd make fun of him. And, and now that he was Electro, he was going to be somebody. He was going to make his mark. He was going to make sure no one could ever ignore him again. And, while there is a slightly sympathetic bent to that, at the same time, there's not. Because another way he could have done that, another way he could have made people love him, was, he could have done the opposite. He could have actually become a hero. A hero with electric powers, he could have done quite a bit. Would have been loved. People would have, especially had he done the whole Fantastic Four thing, not, given no one any reason per se to not trust him. And honestly, he didn't, though, just because he felt like people owed him. It wasn't enough that he wanted to be known. He didn't want to be loved. He wanted to be feared. He wanted to make people feel as low as they made him feel. Okay? He wanted payback against the entire world. Which is why, while there's a slightly sympathetic angle to him, he's not a sympathetic character in the least. And that's one thing that I do like about him. He's a very interesting, fairly dynamic character. And I do remember, too, how after, Spider-Man 2, the game, Enter Electro for the PS1, everyone kept saying, oh man, I really wish they'd use him in a movie. How come he's not in the movie? And when each of the Spider-Man movies came out, Spider-Man 1 had the Green Goblin, okay. Spider-Man 2, oh, I hope it's Electro, I hope it's Electro. Nope, it's Doc Ock. Okay, Spider-Man 3, oh, I hope it's Electro, oh, I hope it's Electro, oh, I hope it's Electro. I remember people wanted Electro so bad. Just like they wanted Lizard so bad. for those Spider-Man movies. And then when they reboot the series and they use the Lizard, nobody wants the Lizard. He's such a horrible villain. Nobody wants Electro. He's such a horrible villain now. It's hilarious. And I'm at my 15-minute limit, so I'm going to split this up into 2 parts.